Does it show up in a form of a paycheck? Like, have you ever looked around and wondered, am I equitably being paid?
I thankfully have not.
Okay.
In the big law firms that I've worked for or worked with, I have felt that I was fairly compensated. Yeah.
All right. Let's take another shift. When you think of the current political landscape, you think of the recent tweets from our president to 4 women of color stating to go back where they came from. Has any of that sentiment spilled over? Things that you've noticed that is like, hey, red flag?
You mean in the workplace?
Yes.
No, I haven't seen that in the workplace. Frankly, it would be kind of interesting to see that in a law firm. I don't think anybody would want to kind of tamper with that too much, because you do have a whole host of lawyers there, and that would not be a very nice EEOC complaint being filed. But I will say this. This is what I will say. There is still a misunderstanding about the importance of diversity.
Okay.
And this is true in law firms. This is true in corporate America generally. This is true in academic institutions also. I spoke with an attorney, a very senior attorney, who said to me, I don't understand why diversity is so important. You know, frankly, shouldn't it just matter that we have diversity of thought and not diversity of color, not diversity of, religion and the other tenets of diversity or facets of diversity? And I thought to myself that we're still, kind of struggling with the question of why diversity is important is very telling on the lack of conversations that or productive conversations that we're having in America on the importance of all people to the success of this country. When we fail to see the importance and the talent that different people bring to the table, then we fail to realize our best selves. I mean, there's countless research articles and a lot of literature on the fact that the more diverse your team is, the more successful you tend to be. And it just is mind-boggling that we're still in this kind of state of affairs where we're like, well, I just don't see the importance intrinsically as to why we need, people of color in the workplace.
Do you think that that's because, not necessarily because there's a lack of conversation, but a lack of interest from certain sections or certain groups?
I think there's a fear. Of...
What is this fear?
I think there's a fear of a zero-sum mentality, right? If you get, then I don't get. And that's a myth, frankly. What we need to direct the conversation towards is actually, as you get, it helps me get, because I am only as productive, I am only as successful as my community. And if my community is thriving, I'm going to thrive too, right? I think we have to have the conversation that America is so bountiful with opportunities that there is no need to ever feel like you need to hold all of this stuff to yourself and not share it with other people for fear that you're going to be displaced or for fear that you're not going to have an opportunity. Frankly, when you allow people to be creative, when you allow people to feel inspired, when you allow people to feel like they belong, they create opportunities, they create jobs, they create resolutions. And so there is no need for anyone in America in 2019 to be without hope, to be without work, to be without value, to be without the things that we need to sustain ourselves. There is no zero sum here. There should not be zero sum here. But then this also trails into a different conversation about greed, and so I think it's fear.
So what is the next step? Like when we have an election coming in a year, what should a president embody? Because obviously this isn't it. So what should, and when you look at who's running, what's the missing link? Because obviously I don't think anybody has a majority
of support.
They're, the polls might suggest 10-point swing here or there, but nobody really has a firm grasp. What should that president's message be?
I have to make a disclaimer that I am not a professional political analyst. So these are just my own opinions, but I think you have to promote a message of cohesion. That's what it's going to take. It's going to take everyone feeling like they are America, right? Not some of us, not the wealthy, not the poorest of the poor, not the rural America, not the middle America. Everyone has a place here in America, and everyone has a part and a role to play. Like, if you're not going to communicate that message, you've just alienated parts of this country just off the bat. And I think, the more we continue to stir the pot of fear, the more we continue to stir the part of zero sum and alienation, a house divided will not stand. It just will not stand.
When we look at the conversation of greed, let's go to economic focus. You think about the legalization of marijuana. Mm-hmm. It's kind of hard to focus on that topic and not understand its cultural impact. Mm-hmm. So what should the message be? As every state now is pretty much legalized in some form, or will in the next 2-3 years. Illinois becomes recreational legal at the beginning of next year. What are your thoughts toward the legalization of marijuana?
My thoughts toward that is, I think it needs to be legalized. And I also think there needs to be some sort of compensation or, some sort of contribution and redemption for people that have been stigmatized negatively by our legal system, by our society, and any other way, by our businesses who have been involved in marijuana pre-legalization. So, and I think the conversation is right on track in the country right now about legalization of marijuana, and the fact that this has plagued Black and brown communities for years, for decades, and the majority of the people incarcerated are Black and brown bodies, and many of them for this very issue of marijuana. And now all of a sudden we're going to legalize it, and I'm not against legalization, but I'm against legalization if it does not accompany the relief towards the groups of people that have been plagued by it. So that means, clearing their records. That means investing in communities that have the economic need, right? And I think that's kind of getting into the conversation of reparations. What does that look like? I think, sure, we can legalize marijuana, sure, because people are going to profit off of it, right? But so long as we give those economic opportunities and breaks to the communities that need it the most, then I'm for it.
Let's take that focus. Reparations. Because that's, you're literally touching on reparations. Is it a real thing? Is it just good poetry, verbal, stance and political rhetoric? Is it, outside of a House bill being passed?
Yeah.
In your lifetime, do you actually think some form of reparations will actually be enacted?
In my lifetime, well, I hope to live for a while, so I would hope to see some progress on the reparation front. To your initial question of, is this just, lip service? Are we just paying lip service to the topic of reparations? I certainly hope not. And I do not look at this topic as just lip service. I think it is something that definitely needs significant consideration. I think that it is a conversation that needs to be had with and with an academic, with a cultural, with a personal perspective, and a financial perspective too. I don't think that we're at a place where we fully understand how to provide reparations to descendants of slaves. Okay, our ancestors were enslaved for hundreds of years, and we are still feeling the ramifications of that, right? Like, we may not be walking around in actual shackles and chains and servitude. Oh, but you better believe that, figuratively speaking, they're still there, right? From the lack of economic investment that we've seen in our communities, to the feeling that, or not even just the feeling, but statistically how we don't get the same even job opportunities, and we have to fight for these kinds of things, or home loans. Like, I would encourage every single person that watches this program or comes by way of this program to read Ta-Nehisi Coates' article on the case for reparations. It is so unbelievably educational on what has really happened to ravage the African American community. And so I think we need more scholarship on this, because it is deep, and it cannot be solved with a simple pay descendants of slaves $1 million, right? This is so much deeper. Okay. I think it goes beyond the monetary value of a check, and it goes towards the academic, economic, and social opportunities that we can weave into our systems so that people of color can actually get the leverage that they need.
All right. Like the answer, I wouldn't mind the $1 million though. You can go make that money. Let's do it. So you hit upon loans.
Yes.
Student debt is out of control. It has impacted society. Is college necessary to be successful? I mean, like, if the result is you get a degree, but you can't even move out of your parents' home, what's really the byproduct of college?
I see that I see your question broken down into different things. One, is college necessary? Is one question, and I'll answer that one. And then the ramification of, or the consequence of profiting off of education is something different too. Look, education changed my life. I am always and forever will be an advocate for education, especially for people that do not just inherit the chances to go to, say, Ivy Leagues and those things. We need education. We totally do. I was a teacher, right? I've seen what the depth of education can do for kids. So, for example, I was a second grade teacher. My students, I inherited students that were below grade level, severely below grade level in the second grade. That is a significant problem. And I'm going to tell you why. Because in the second grade, you can statistically figure out the probability of the correlation of a child's grade level, like their educational attainment, and their likelihood to go to prison. Okay, based upon their literacy level in the second grade. So if you ever ask me if education is important, I'm the one that's going, hoorah, absolutely. And look, I'm a lawyer. I went to law school, and I find value in the knowledge that I obtained every single day. Now, where I combat this conversation and this issue is where we profit off of education. We're profiting off of our kids. We're profiting off of the future of our country. I mean, this statistic that I just learned, and I admit I need to go and double check it to make sure it's 100% accurate, but the statistic I just learned is that in 2018, last year, 2018, 68% of college graduates in America, that is a huge number, have on average $30,000 of student loan debt. We were discussing earlier, what's the likelihood that an average college graduate student is going to have a job upon graduation that pays enough money that they'll be able to pay that $30,000 off in 10 years? They're not even coming away with $30,000 jobs, So how are we bootstrapping misery, bootstrapping economic hardship, bootstrapping deferred dreams on our future? That's what I see this student debt as being. It's horrific.
So do you think we should just eliminate, just annex all student loan debt, just take a hard, maybe not a tax cut, but whatever we can throw at it, and everybody is void of it?
Let me tell you, I'm not the politician running right now, but I would not be upset about that at all. If they were to annex or nix all of our student loan debt, cancel it, please sign me up for that line.
Definitely. So with that, if student loan debt really has altered almost every aspect of life, goal achievement. Yeah. Obviously, I think when you talk about Westernization and the American dream, is goal attainment the ultimate high? Is it when you're sitting there graduating high school, is it I have to get to this level?
You know, one thing I will say, because it's a good question. High school, so is college necessary? It may not be necessary for everyone. There are some people out here living their lives and doing phenomenally well and have never stepped foot on a college campus and do not have a college degree. And they're probably outperforming you and I financially. And kudos to them because they found their calling, right? And look, I think if you want to pursue education, I just feel like it should not come with this impediment on your life. So for high school students, yeah, I think they should still go and pursue their dreams. And if their dream is to become an attorney, if their dream is to become a lawyer or a business person or to become a doctor or to become an entrepreneur, whatever that is, they should still go and pursue their dreams. Why? Because regardless of how bleak economically things may look, we still have this life to live. We still have purpose on our lives. We still have a calling while we're here. And I am not going to let somebody else, you remember what I said earlier, control my narrative. I'm not going to let someone say to me, you know what, you have this student debt, so you can't go out and start that business. Oh, really? Watch me.
When do you control? What age is it appropriate to control your narrative? So if the focus is there's this 18 to 22-year-old gap that is yay or nay, depending on your passion and purpose and vision, or is it really an upbringing question? Like, if somebody comes to you, you were a teacher, what is the purpose of high school? I feel like from whatever high school starts, 13, 14 to 18, is where you should be trying to control that narrative. But it seems like the system is set up to push you into college, push you into that.
Absolutely.
So when do you start controlling your narrative? When is
here, as soon as possible. I think as soon as possible. The issue is, you're absolutely right. And that is an issue that you're absolutely right on this topic. We are, like, our system is the blueprint. You go to elementary school, you go to high school, you fill out your college applications, you go to college, and then you get a job. And you work that job, and you stay there for however many decades, and then you retire. And then you can start living your life. What? Why is that the only blueprint? Why isn't there another blueprint? Why can't we start teaching our kids to be creative earlier, to be business people earlier, to start being visionaries earlier? You know what I think we need? We need coaches in high school. And I'm not talking about basketball coaches, that's fine too.
Life coaches.
We need coaches. We need life coaches. We need business coaches. We need financial coaches. We need professional coaches for our kids. We need creative coaches. We need coaches in high school, because not everybody is meant to walk this blueprint that we've created societally to go to college and go get a job. Like, that is not everybody's story. And we should give kids we need to give kids more credit that they have what it takes to control their own narrative at an early age.
All right, I got a couple easy ones for you, because I always like to.
These were your easy ones?
These were my easy ones.
These are kind of tough. All right, I don't know if I believe you.
I like to end these segments on easy ones. Cubs or Sox?
socks all day. I said I'm a South Side girl, so I live on the North Side, by the way, but I'm
You
a South
do.
Side.
We're here on the North Side, guys. Stephen Colbert or John Alvarez, best nighttime host?
Oh my God, that is not fair.
How's that?
That is not a fair question.
I'm a Colbert fan.
You know what? I will say this. Stephen Colbert, Monday through Friday, but Sundays, John Oliver.
All right, well, you heard it here first. Amanda, where can they connect with you? You talked about the things you're starting up.
Yeah.
Just run that real quick.
Sure. So there's my email address, which is r.amanda.moncada@gmail.com. There's my Twitter handle, which is armoncada-perkins. There's also my Facebook, which is armoncada-perkins.
All right, I appreciate that. And guys, till next time. Thanks.